Hello my visual effects friends. Previously, we created a particle system using a null layer and creating a path and then attaching a flare and particles to it to give this look. In this video, what I'm going to do is take it to the next level. We're going to apply that same particle system to a live action video to look like this. So let's jump right into it. The first thing I need to do is I need to bring in the video that I'm going to utilize for my composition. To do that, I'm going to go File, Import, File. Hopefully what I've done is I've moved my video off of my device into my particles folder. As you can see here, here's my video that I want to use, and I click on Open. And it brings it in to my project bin. To help me be able to identify it easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Rename, and I'm going to name it Sid Ferry. Now that I've got the Sid Ferry video, I'm going to take this down and drag it into New Composition. By doing this, what this does is sets up my composition settings to match all the metadata in that video itself. I don't have to go up to Composition, New Composition, and play around with the settings in there. I can just use the information off the video itself. As you can see here, I have a couple of different examples I've been playing around with, so let's jump into this one. So first thing I need to do is I need to trim this, because I had to do it in 2 takes with my little one. As you can see, she kind of had the wand a little low this time, and then we adjusted and started up higher, and she did some grandiose movement. So what I want is a second one here. So I'm going to go to the start point right about here. Start right here. I'm going to hit Command, Shift, and D on my keyboard and split my composition. This first part of the composition I don't need, and I'll get rid of it. This part I'm going to drag all the way to the beginning here. And if you look, my composition settings are about 6 seconds. So what I can do is go up to my composition up in my project bin, right click on it, go to composition settings, and change it from 12 seconds to 6 seconds. That just makes it easier for me to control my composition timeline down here. The next thing I need to do is I need to create keyframes that are going to help me track the tip of this wand. Over here on the right hand side, I'm going to use Tracker. I have my video selected, I have my tracker open, and I'm going to track motion. This is going to open up this video in a new layer, and it's going to give me a track point that I can use to track the tip of the wand. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger and give me more of an area for it to decipher what exactly it is it's tracking. I'm going to take this and put it on the tip of the wand. Now, I could push play and see if it will track along with it, but I know that the colors in the background and the colors of this wand are very similar. So this tracker is going to get lost somewhere in the process. If I did that, it would look like this. As you can see, it already lost its track point right off the get-go. So if I hit reset and go back to the beginning, I can reset my track point. Now what I need to do is go frame by frame and try and track it that way. And you'll start seeing the path of the keyframes from frame to frame. Now this could take a while, so I'm going to come back after I work on it. So as you can see here, I've gone through and tracked all my points as the wand moves around. I think I did a pretty good job, and we should be able to move on to the next couple steps. So the next thing I need to do is I need to put a null layer in that I'm going to attach all of my motion to for my flare and my particle system. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New, Null Object. I'm going to rename my null and make sure it's named null1. If this is your first time doing it, it should come in as null1 automatically, but I will show you later on why this is important. For null1, you're going to notice that there's a null layer area here. What I want to do is have this track and follow this motion track. So what I need to do is open this up, go to Transform, and look for Position. I'm going to hold down Option on the Mac, Alt on the PC, and click on our keyframe. This opens up our expressions where we could put in programming code, or we can do what we're going to do right now, which is an expression pick whip. What this does is links my position to whatever else I want to link it to. For this project, what we're going to do is link it to our tracker 1, tracker point, feature center. I take that pick whip, I track it to my feature center, and you're going to notice as the wand moves, so does the null layer with it. The other thing we notice is the null layer's anchor point is up here in the corner. We want this centered right here. It's just going to make things look cleaner and a lot better when we add the flare and the particle system to it. So we can go up to Layer, Transform, Center Anchor Point, and Layer Content. And that will center it right around the tip of the wand. Now I can close down my video layer, and I'm going to leave my null layer open, but I'm only going to hit the letter P for position, because we're going to be using that a lot in a second. So what we can do next is apply the flare and have it track along with this null layer. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New, Solid. I recommend not using white, but a darker color. Any darker color will do. I click OK, and I change the name to Flare, and I click OK. I'm going to apply the effect, Generate, Lens Flare, and now I can see my lens flare. The reason we don't want to use a white background is because, as you can see with this lens flare, it's pretty bright. White would just wash it out and we won't be able to see what we're doing. I go over here to my lens type. I change it to a 105 prime because I just like this bluish hue, and it's going to match my daughter's princess outfit. I take the brightness and I knock it down to about 40%, and it looks a little bit better here. Most flares don't just hold that light. We want to be able to make this flare kind of flash in and out. So if I go over to my flare brightness and hold down Option or Alt and click on the keyframe, this will open up our expressions down here in our composition. This time I'm not going to pick whip it to anything. I'm actually going to put an expression in that I use a lot. And what that is wiggle. I'm going to type in wiggle, bracket or parentheses, 2, 25. So what this is saying is for every second, it's going to flash twice, and it's going to change the measurement of that flash by 25%. So it's going to stay within the range of 25% off of this flare brightness that we set. Now if I scrub through, you can see it kind of flashing as I scrub through my timeline. We need to take the flare center and pick whip it to the position of our null layer. I hold down Option Alt, hit the flare center, pick whip this to position, and now when I scrub through the flare center, it's going to stay right with my null layer. Last but not least, we need to be able to see our composition, original composition or video. So I'm going to go up here to my mode and change it from normal to screen. And now we can see the flare moving around with the wand. If you can't see the mode, down here in the lower left-hand corner is the expand or collapse the transfer controls panel, and that will allow you to see what kind of mode your layer is. So let's close the flare, and now let's add the particle system. Again, we start with Layer, New, Solid. We're going to name this Particle, and click OK. We're going to go up to Effect, Simulation, Particle World. And this really cool particle effect appears. And you can see all these cool particles coming off of our origin right here. We don't need all of this stuff that's kind of surrounding it. We have a horizon line, we have a grid, not something that we need to utilize. So I'm going to go up here to Grid and Guides, and I'm going to turn everything off. I'm going to close that down. I'm going to go to Physics, and I'm going to turn off all the different physics, because I'm going to dictate the physics in a second. And what we should be looking at is just a little particle ball sitting right here in the middle of the origin. We're going to go to Producer. We're going to change the radius of X to 0.01, the radius of Y to 0, and the radius of Z to 0.01. Notice we're working in 3 dimensions here, the X, the Y, and the Z. Now, we could pick whip our position to match the position of the null layer, but if you look here, our null layer, our position is X and Y. So what we need to do first for our null layer is we need to make that 3D so we have X, Y, and Z. But the other thing we notice is our particle world position is broken out in position X, position Y, and position Z, not grouped together. So we have to do a little finagling to make this work. I need to actually apply an expression to each one of these to match the positions down here in the null layer. So if I Option Alt click on position X, I can see I can enter my expression. Underneath this video, or if you have access to the Google Drive, we need to go and grab this top code here and copy it and paste it into our position X. There it is. Notice it says here this comp layer null 1. That's why we change null to null 1. I'm going to do this for the Y and the Z. And if I did this right, I shouldn't see any errors down here. If I do see an error, make sure that you turn on the 3D layer for the null, and we should be all set. And I can look at it and see that the particles start chasing the wand. I can now go up here to my particles, close down my producer, and I can play around with what type of particle this is, and I can change the color of it. That one's kind of dark. So as you can see, you could play around with this and do a whole bunch of different things. What I want to do is I'm going to actually switch the flare and the particle layers so the flare is over the top of the particles and not hidden in the background. One finishing touch I can do is I can kind of frame this out. As you can see, I have some random stuff kind of going on in my room. So I can go up here to Layer, New, Solid. This time I'm going to change it to a lighter color solid. I'm going to make this a little softer blue, and I'm going to call this Frame. I have this layer over the top. I'm going to go up here to my Shape tool, and I'm going to select the Ellipse tool, and I'm going to double click on this tool to make it fill a mask into this whole area. Right now it's not a shape, it's actually selected to be a mask. When I double click on it, it will fill the whole screen like this. Now what I want to do is go down here and invert the mask, and I have a cool frame. But I don't want these hard edges. I want this to kind of blend together. So if I open up my mask, go to my mask feather, and feather it out, it creates this softer image. And then I can go to my mask expansion and kind of push it out a little bit so it's not as hard of lines. I click off of it. Very cool. Have fun playing around with this. Make sure that you adjust the settings to work the way that you want it to work, and enjoy.
Daddy, you're talking about me? And you said to me.